Hi everyone, this is Amelia here, and I'm going to talk through with you um, the supervision skills that you're learning on the program and link them to your assessment handbook. So think of this as a little handy guide to go with the assessment handbook, which is pretty self-explanatory, but nevertheless you've got this extra video as well. If there is anything that you're unclear about by the end of looking both at this video and at your assessment handbook, and you want to pick it up with your supervisor in your supervision group, that's the person who will be marking your work. So that's the person you would need to pick it up with. But if in the absence of them, of course, there is me as the course director behind that system, and you can come to me too. So, but hopefully this will be fairly clear to all of you. And I'm looking at in front of me, as you are, the hierarchy of supervision skills. So these were taken from Roth and Pilling and edited by me. Of the basic skills clinical supervisors need, and they defined them also in terms of psychotherapy models. But the skills that we've got in front of us are purely what they consider to be the generic or core clinical supervision skills. Now, they were from the University of London, commissioned by the BACP to do this exercise in 2008 and updated in 2015. And this really is the seminal work on supervision skills. So hence, it's important that we assess to some level of externality that holds some credibility, as indeed this does. So you can see at the bottom of the triangle here, the sort of listening, the deep listening, contracting skills, the structuring of sessions that we'll learn, and the ability to develop a good open supervisory alliance, and fluent use of all the person-centered facilitation skills that you will see on the assessment criteria. And all of those skills will be used to explore issues thoroughly with your supervisees and be able to clarify and understand what the real issue is with them. As well as that, then, we do some work on ethics, diversity and difference issues and boundary issues. So you will look at those. You will also look at when issues impact on capacity. You'll look at a whole range of, which this doesn't say here, but the rest of the programme, you'll look at a range of models, reflective and supervision models, from which those skills will be further developed. And different models make more and less use of different kinds of skills. And you'll be able to make those links as we go through the programme. Principles of adult learning, by that we really mean just kind of like teaching really and learning with your supervisee. Can you facilitate the supervisee to learn, essentially? And obviously, as a clinical supervisor, it's essential that you're able to do that. And of course, you will be doing that all the time in the supervision groups and getting feedback all the time on the programme. So you'll get very clear on your strengths and gaps as we keep going and be able to practice away. Coaching and role play. You do learn a peer coaching model on the programme, and role play is kind of inevitable really in terms of practicing skills that we do. Some people sort of find that the idea of it, scarier really than the reality. So it's just something to be aware of, and again the environment is set up very safely and helpfully there. Observation and feedback skills are obviously important to the process and assessing to the external standards that we have on the checklist. And finally, at the end of the course, I would like you to be able to really recognise when you need to use your own supervision and reflection. So, for example, I recognise when need maybe extra supervision, because I have various supervisors who I see on a pretty regular basis, but nevertheless, problems might surface where there might be a bit of a gap between the problem surfacing and when I'm next having my supervision session, and I may need to get in touch with my supervisor to arrange an earlier session. If the problem is preoccupying me, or there's some kind of pressing need to look at it before I next meet my supervisor, I will certainly pick up the phone or the email and check out when I can have a session. So the mature supervisor really needs to recognize, if you like, when they need help, and then go and get it, basically. And that will make you a lot more effective at your work than if you just sort of kick it about on your own and you don't really get any help. Okay. So I just want to come on now to the assessment and criteria on the programme. So as you can see here, we've got the assessment criteria, and we've got 5 different core areas of assessment on the programme. You've got your hours of receiving supervision, i.e. in your supervision group. You'll have up to 22 facilitated supervision hours there. You'll actually have a couple more if you meet as supervision groups in between sessions. But we expect you to have a minimum of 20, have achieved a minimum of 20 hours of receiving supervision by the time you leave the course. In other words, you need to attend 10 out of the 11 facilitated sessions. Hours of giving supervision, 10 or more. So we suggest that you make a contract with your supervisee for 10 sessions, and you do it on a monthly basis until you're complete, which is usually the end of the calendar year. Now, sometimes supervisees will drop out, and you may need to find another supervisee, and we'll help you with that if we can as well. And so it might be you might achieve that with 2 supervisees of, say, 5 hours each. So it's not a perfect world, but ideally it is good to have evidence of a consistent one-to-one supervision session if you can. That would be our preferred way of receiving the hours, but sometimes it may consist of 1 or more supervisees, and that's okay. Attendance and participation in the programme, we make a 90% requirement. Now, we do emphasise this before people join the programme, and we make it really clear that that we see that as demonstrating the commitment as a peer supervisor in your supervision group, and as a peer learner in the class learning group. And we do consider it indicative of your ability to develop that trusting environment in which a supervisee can flourish. In other words, on the sort of negative side, if you like, if you were just to turn up to the supervision group fairly sporadically and not really be very committed to it, not really recognising that the supervisee group loses out when you don't turn up to the group, because they lose out on another perspective of the work, and as a peer supervisor, you're not taking your role seriously. And we would see that as being directly comparable to what you would be like as a clinical supervisor out there on a one-to-one basis, that you probably be equally sporadically unreliable, if you like. And so it's really important that the supervision group is interdependent. It needs you and you need it, and you must attend it for that time. And likewise in the class as well, the group is fairly small, and everybody helps everybody else's learning, and you need to be committed to that. And the development of trust with a supervisee is a real commitment. So you need to be really aware of that in terms of your decision to come on the programme, and that you must be committed. Clearly, there are occasions when people get ill and can't make the sessions. We will obviously explore that, but if you miss more than 2 sessions because of illness, then we recommend that you come back on a future course. We have done that with a couple of people in the past. So you need to be aware that if you miss any more than that, you will have to come and do a future course. So it's really important. The written assignment consists of 3 possibilities and possibly a fourth. Either an essay, 4 short answer questions, or a presentation. Or you might create a new assessment in collaboration and negotiation with your supervisor. Now, I am open to that, as long as it meets the criteria which is on page 8 of your assessment handbook. So don't go off and do something without talking to your tutor, your supervisor first. And it's your supervisor in your supervision group who will be your marker. So they are the person to talk to and negotiate with in relation if you've got an idea that you want to develop to be assessed. And I'm all for extending our repertoire of creative assessments. So you can be as creative as you like as long as you meet the criteria. And the criteria are pretty straightforward. So that shouldn't, it should just provide you with a framework really. And you can allow your creativity to flourish and explore possibilities. On the other hand, some people think, look, I don't want the hassle of being creative. I'm just going to do the written essay or the four questions, etc. Some people think with the presentation, well, yes, their division could use a presentation on supervision for educational purposes. And that certainly served a number of people quite successfully on the course, so that we've killed 2 birds with 1 stone there. And we've seen some very interesting presentations. So you've got choices, and we're not going to judge you about which choice you make as long as you choose an assignment. The other thing that I would say is there are people on the course who may choose not to do the assessments, for which you'll receive a certificate of attendance. If you do choose to do the assessments, then you would receive a certificate of achievement, given that you passed them, and also become ABUHB approved supervisor status. So bear in mind, you've got a choice there about how you want to follow things. Most people do choose to do the assessment. The skills assessment, you've got 2 types of possibilities there, and that will either be a recording or it will be a live assessment that you do in the class. And plenty of time to discuss that in your supervision groups, and read more about it and ask questions as you see fit. So that concludes the voting for Baden-Baden and the guide to assessment in clinical supervision. I hope you find it helpful, and if you do, you can like and share it on Facebook. That was a joke. But if you've got any further questions, see your tutor and we'll explain further. Thank you very much.